Welcome to the Valve Studio for August 6, 2016. I got a couple of things to talk about today. One of them is this prototyping system I came up with and some other new additions we got here in the lab. I was looking around, actually I'm in the process of designing this amplifier for AJ Fullerton, and I have a bunch of different topologies I want to try out. I want to try out a cascode stage for the microphone preamp as well as a guitar preamps as well. And let me see, rectifier selection, what else did I want to try? I want to try a phase inverter, different type of things for that. And I also have to design a reverb circuit and, tremolo, and also I'm doing a lot of reading on vibrato circuits. So I need some way to do that. And so I ended up buying a bunch of Greenlee punches, and I was thinking I was going to use cake pans for that and hand solder everything together. But then I was kind of looking around for prototyping stuff, and I came across Tube Labs prototype number 3, which uses this pegboard that they got, and they end up actually using like those European bus strip, terminal strip kind of things to be able to screw circuits together. I took that a step further, and I'll go ahead and show you what I have. We'll turn on the overhead camera here in a minute. But I found this thing. This is a 16 by 16 piece of plastic pegboard at Home Depot, and I got it for something like $6 or something. And then I designed a bunch of these little things here. I'll show you a bunch of different things that I have. I got a tube socket on this one side, and then I had a bunch of terminal strips. I'll go ahead and show you those, but I'll get to this in just a minute. The other thing I did was, I watched Uncle Doug talk about safety, and he showed how he created a capacitor discharge mechanism out of an old screwdriver that he had. And what I was using was a alligator clips with the resistors to kind of just wire it in there. But I found one of these. I found this thing here. This is a 6 to 12 volt tester. I got this at a garage sale for a couple bucks, and I took the light bulb out of it. It had like a 12 volt light bulb in the middle, and I'll go ahead and show you what I ended up doing for that. I took the ends, I unsoldered the glass part out, and I took the ends off, and then I 3D printed like a little tube, and I stuck a 3.9K resistor in there, half water. So now I have a very safe capacitor discharge handle, and then I actually now put some heat shrink on the shaft here, so I have a very pointy tip. I'll go ahead and show you. This thing here is the VACO TK550. So I'll go ahead and look that up for you. Got that. And then the last thing I have here is I was using an old scope that I had, an old HP scope from something like 1980. And it had problems with triggering, and you got to see that in some of the other videos. Well, I just acquired this thing at some point. This is a Syncor model SC61. They actually don't call it an oscilloscope, it's a waveform analyzer. This guy will go up to 2,000 volts on the probes. It also has a bunch of ways to look at peak-to-peak voltages. Let me see, frequency. It will look at differences. It'll do A over B ratio calculation. So for gain, you can actually use this thing to measure bandwidth. And the last thing it does is it'll give you time as well. Kind of tricky thing it ends up doing. A lot of the newer scopes, if you have a digital scope now, a lot of these functions are kind of built into it. But back in the old days, this is pretty, I don't know when this came out, 1985 or something. But this is a much better piece of equipment that I had, so I did little upgrades over the last few days. I'll go ahead and show you my prototyping setup right here. With this, I'll actually be able to go into doing design work for AJ's amplifier. So let's go ahead and switch over to the overhead camera. All right, so like I was saying, this is a black plastic pegboard. If you look up on Home Depot, you'll see this thing. It's 16 by 16, so it's got 16 holes across here. And so I started by having a bunch of these 13-pin terminal strips. I got about 100 of these I bought in an auction somewhere. And so I started with these, and I printed out this thing. It's got 4 feet on the bottom, and it's just fit in the middle. So this is where I'm going to put my individual parts, so I can have resistors and capacitors across here. Then I made a bunch of an octal plug here. So I got octal plugs, and I ended up using some old Cat 5 solid core, like 26 gauge wire. It should be able to run about an amp or two out of this, guys. And then I run them over here, and I just ended up using some hot glue to hold these down, soldered it all together. So that's an octal. And then you can place these, kind of wherever you want. Here's an octal with an old can. This is a 6AC7. Let me see over here. These are my 9-pin guys. So here's a 12BH7. And what's nice about this is that it has these recessed parts. Let me show you what's going on the bottom. So underneath here, it's designed to kind of sit off your wall, so it has these feet on here, but this is kind of slick on my table. So I went ahead and put a little rubber foot on the bottom. And that makes it very stiff. It doesn't move at all. So you can put these things in here. Here's another 9-pinner. That's a 12A27. And then I printed out 1 or 2 of these. This is that's a 9 as well. Where's my little 7 guy? Oh, here's a little 7 guy. You can kind of see, it's a little tiny guy. But it has a, specific form factor. So we're looking pretty good here. If I was thinking, I could have done this a little bit differently, but it's all fine. I can put a ton, basically, of tubes onto this thing and do a bunch of different circuits potentially all at once, or individually, or just buy more of these. These things are $6 a piece, so it's not that big a deal. What I plan on doing is these terminal strips actually are ones that have pins coming. Oh, let me find one you can see the pins on. Oh, here we go. I had to cut them off. They ended up being about 3/4 of an inch long. So what I'm going to do on one of these is I'm actually going to solder power supply connections to these and run them as like a power supply connection all through the bottom side of the board over to my filament as well as my high voltage power supply. Well, that's about it. It's a nice setup. I look forward to using it because I'm going to be able to put together tube circuits without actually having to solder anything. Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Because I got to start moving on doing AJ's amplifier design. Well, that's it for the prototyping system. I hope you download things and actually make something for your own work. I do know that this is going to be really noisy. There's no shielding or anything, but it's a good start. So I can get some ideas fleshed out and then actually go to doing a real design using a metal chassis and all. When I come back, what I'm going to do is I have a lot of options. There's a lot of work to be done on AJ's amplifier. I did get some. I bought an old Shure microphone preamp on eBay. It was sold for parts, but it does have all the microphone transformers in it that'll go from like 150 ohms up to about 50K. So I got that so I can work on AJ's preamplifier for his microphone. I have to design the tremolo circuit or a vibrato circuit, and then I also have to work on the reverb. I did order some parts, Antique Electronics Supply. Had a sale in July, so I took advantage of that. And I have a 12-inch speaker here. I bought this as a Jensen's C12N. That's a 50-watt guy. It's at 4 ohms. I need this for the small amplifier. I know it's a kind of a big speaker for that small one because the small one's going to run at around 5 watts. But I couldn't get a 4-ohm Jensen. But I'll use this. If it doesn't work out for AJ's amplifier, I'll use it for something else. This is the only 4-ohm speaker I have here in the FL studio. And I got a reverb tank. I got this mod. This is a 9-inch guy based on some recommendations that Lord Valve gave me on the link. Then I also got a reverb driver transformer. So we'll go ahead and take a look at what it's, what are the issues with driving this tank with either a 6K6 or a 12AT7. And we will continue on designing AJ's amplifier. Okay, this is the Valve Studio for August 6, 2016. Thanks for watching.